Good day, everybody. Good day. How's it going out there? The menu. We're back to the menu. Alright. Last time, we found ourselves on a journey through some place in Utah, probably. But not called Utah, obviously, because this is a fictional world with fictional places. And, ended up in this town, and, in this hotel, and spoopy things happened, and then they tried to get away from the town, and then more spoopy things happened, and then car wreck, and then, or I should say Jeep wreck, and then their other friends showed up in a different car to help them out, and not a truck, apparently, even though it was supposed to be a truck. So now all three friends are now in Spoopy Town and have to do things. I think that's a general summary of what happened last time. So, without further ado, let's continue our spoopy investigation. Coyote guy's some sort of psychic. Bear's really freaked out that he's a psychic and doesn't want him hurt. So wants to get him out of Spoopy Town. But Coyote's acting weird. Wants to investigate the Spoopy more. That's another summary. Alright, let's go. Cameron State stares across the lake. Furry Silent Hill. Well, there is fog. How's it going over here? Cameron stares across the lake, noticing how the light blue of the water almost perfectly reflects the blues of the sky. Is that why lakes are blue? Because they're just a reflection of what's above. And that's why it becomes dark and murky when the weather is cloudy. Ah, shit. That's crazy. This seemingly profound realization is what makes Carolyn suddenly realize he's very, very high. At first, Cameron finds it funny and he laughs out loud, only to stumble over nothing as his limbs feel intensely heavy. Wow. What was funny suddenly became somewhat alarming, and the coyote's giggling dies away almost instantly. Cameron quickly walks back to the road where Dev and Artie are, trying not to look like his legs were both 50 pounds heavier. It doesn't help that his jeans are still a bit damp, the feeling of the soggy denim of his fur incredibly unpleasant. So last time he saw a vision of somebody getting shoved in the lake and he fell in the lake. Just a minute ago, he'd walked ashore and put his clothes back on and everything had been fine. Now he's in a different world. He leans back against the car, folding his arms, trying to ignore the intensifying gravity. Fuck. He had never been this high before. His 16-year-old self would be able to handle this no problem, but the shroom trip he went on through during his junior year had ruined most reality-distorting drugs for him. Even when he smoked the cheap, weak bud his friends provided through high school, he would still come close to freaking out. But he always had an oxy back in those days to calm himself down. Or at least whatever benzo he managed to steal from his mom's medicine cabinet. Now there's nothing between him and the feeling like time and reality are completely fucked. Completely? Permanently fucked? Like how shrooms permanently fucked his sense of self? Can we do that? Stop, you fucking idiot. Stop psyching yourself up man, the fuck up. Dev had been right, of course. What the fuck was he thinking? Well, he knows what it is he'd been thinking. I'm thinking this will never get monetized on YouTube because of how often this story is making me say fuck. By the way, viewer discretion is advised, spoopy things and apparently a lot of swearing. I forgot to mention that. Thank you, swear word, for reminding me. Adult situations, scary situations, and general spoopiness. While he'd made a fuss about Dev answering for him, in reality it was the spur of the moment kind of decision. Oh, my mom did that to Dad. My dad one time, like she's like, oh well, he's gonna do this, but I'm gonna do this, and then she regretted it, like, because she started smoking again, right? It's like Dad won't get his teeth cleaned and get his teeth fixed. Well, I'm gonna start smoking, and then she has kept on smoking ever since, even though she quit. And it was like, mom, come on. Anyway, yeah, sort of like that. Because when Artie offered the pen, he remembered that seeing him things always became easier when he was high. It wasn't really a positive part of being high, but if he's going to be doing this physical shit, may as well experiment more with it. He feels very different about it now. I stepped in spoopy. No, don't step in the spoopy, it's ectoplasm. He slimed me. We'd seemed to like good harmless way to experiment 10 minutes ago, but now Cameron is questioning if weed even triggered supernatural stuff for him in the first place. He was always on the other stuff when he smoked weed, after all. Opioids, stimulants, dissociatives, and frequently hallucinogenics. Like shrooms did the trick, but for obvious reasons, he'd never go back to those things again. Oof. He just needs to relax and be aware if something happens. Oh hey, he's blazed! Cameron opens his eyes to see Artie and look towards Artie in confusion. Huh? Babe, are you alright? The coyote looks at the bear, still confused. What's wrong? I just asked if you're feeling okay, and you were totally spaced out. Artie, just stop freaking him out. Everything's fine, alright, Cameron? I am fine. It's you acting like something's wrong that's freaking me out right now. We are kinda being buzzkills, Devin. You got water? Let's get them a drink. Devin takes Cameron's paw. Sorry. Let's get water. Okay, honey? Seeing Dev transition from flustering to concern immediately makes Cameron feel better. While he'd acted rebellious to somewhat disguise his intentions, he doesn't actually want the bear to be mad at him. He'll explain to Devin later why he did this if it actually ends up working. Just telling him right now, with Artie there, would be way too complicated for his brain right now. Drugs hold a lot of baggage for him, like they would for any former addict, and Cameron doesn't doubt that Dev is not pleased in the slightest with what he's doing right now. For now, he squeezes Devin's paw in his own and smiles as the bear squeezes back. Cameron giggles. Holy shit. I've never been this high before. And that was a single mouth hit? Oil cartridges are insane. Yeah. I swear it gets more potent every year. I'm not surprised it knocked you on your ass. Cameron vacantly watches Dev climb into the rear of the Jeep, grabbing their plastic bottles and one of the gallon jugs of water. How long is the come up? Am I gonna get more high? Let me check, prefs, is it? Music volume's right about there, that's fine. Let me know if the music gets a bit loud. Return. Only if you take another hit? You want to? Dev looks up from unpacking their food and water, biting his lip, but Cameron shakes his head. Nah, I'm good. Just wondering. So just relax. You'll start coming down within an hour. That sounds good. One time I did shrooms and I was stuck in it for 8 hours. It felt like forever. Like, literally forever. Ugh, no thanks. That shit freaks me out. I'm not into stuff that changes you for good, you know? That's great. Is he a lion or is he's like a cougar, isn't he? Like a panther kind of character? Like,
Yeah, it definitely changed me, and not in a good way. I mean, some people change for the better, but others just kind of end up mentally fucked up. And that was me.
no shit. What did it do?
Just the idea that a few nasty tasting mushrooms can change your entire universe makes everything feel fake, I guess. Like everything that makes us who we are, our brain signals or whatever, can be so easily manipulated. You realize nothing's real, and for my friends, that was something that actually motivated them to be better people. For me, I just cared less and less.
The weed is making him open up about things he normally wouldn't, and the coyote isn't sure that that's a good thing.
Sure, it opened my mind, but no one tells you that you can't close it when you're done. You can't ever close it. I should have listened to them when they told me I needed to be in a good place for it to have a good impact on me. I wasn't in a good place at all.
The stress of the past day, on top of remembering that traumatic event, makes Cameron's eyes well up. Probably also because of the weed. Hey, dude, you okay? Tears spit out. Nobody's truly crying. Despite knowing it looks ridiculous, it feels meaningful and poignant. A good cry. Doesn't make it any less embarrassing. Devin, with an expression both worried and exasperated, pauses in his rummaging for the water and food to rub Cameron's arm and kiss him on the side of the head. Jaguarundi? Jaguarundi. Oh, Jaguarundi? Is that an actual name of the species?
I'm sorry. I thought this would help me see ghosts. I don't even know why I did this. I wasn't mad at you at all.
Yes, you were. Devin studies Cameron for a moment, and Cameron's blood runs cold at the thought of, for whatever reason, what he just said is fucked up enough to make Devin question why he was with the crazy canine to begin with. But Dev quickly goes on, as if Cameron didn't say anything. Sit down and have some water, honey. He holds up a green plastic bottle filled with water, and Cameron drinks from it loudly. And food. Devin presses a bag of jerky along with a box of cheese and crackers towards Cameron. Why is Devin always so nice when he's such a dick?
Thanks, Devin. I'm sorry. I'm such a piece of shit.
What? Honey, where did that come from?
I know that's something you wouldn't say, but I'd rather you tell me when I'm being awful. I don't want to go back to the way I was.
It's quiet for a moment. Wow, this got you that fucked up, huh? That's all you gotta say, Artie? Dev doesn't sound angry at Artie anymore, much to Cameron's relief. Just very tired. Still, this is all pretty standard stuff, especially when you got low tolerance. And I'm not trying to be a dick when I say that I'm actually a little jealous. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cam, but it looks cathartic as hell. You're not being a dick. It's just not a smart thing to say right now, Artie.
Art's right. I feel really in touch with my feelings right now, and
Cameron absent-mindedly shoves a cracker in his muzzle and stops. The salty, savory flavor so satisfying. He has to use for all of his focus to appreciate it. Fuck, that's good. Arturo laughs. Cameron shoves a strip of jerky that's slightly seasoned with hot sauce in his mouth, combining the flavors, and he moans again. Devin sighs in defeat, but accepts that accepting sort of way. That makes Cam feel better, that even though he did something stupid, Devin does seem to understand. Hey, let me in on some of that. Alright, but eat slow. This food is for survival, not your munchies. We'll be out of here by noon, Dev. Relax. Devin sighs as he leans against the tailgate, covering his face with his paws, and grunts in annoyance as he has to move to let Artie by. Trust me, I'm trying. Seeming to disregard Devin's advice about taking it slow, Artie starts cramming jerky into his muzzle, moaning like Cameron. Snacks are so much better when you're high versus an actual meal, you know? Cameron doesn't know, but nods enthusiastically. I can't believe this. Devin Stone is one of actual disbelief. Arturo glances lazily at Cameron. Alright, we're starting to get into the exposition, so if there's short like little blurbs like that between conversations, just as I established last time, I'll just let them on screen, read them silently, and then just read the dialogue. Like if it's just like he said, or they exasperated, or like there's no need to narrate that stuff, so we'll just like skip it and I'll just read it, unless there's something important in the narration. Is Devin being a fucking Nazi about everything new? Or have you been putting up with this for a while? It's weird after knowing how he acted in college. Cameron leans against the tail of the gate, smiling.
I've been doing some dangerous shit during our investigation, and Dev is just trying to keep us safe. He's wonderful and I love him.
Oh? You gonna let me in on what's going on between you two? Because I think we all can admit it's been super awkward so far.
Hasn't it, though? This must be fucking weird for you.
It's just not really something that you need to know about. I know that sounds rude, but
I'm psychic.
Dev's eyes widen. Cameron doesn't help much fill the silence that follows. Huh. Like you see the future, or?
I can see ghosts. It may be the future. I don't know how it works. I'm trying to figure it out.
Cameron hadn't really given much thought about it, but seeing the future seemed to be part of it. Dude, that's fucking awesome! Devin shifts around and Cameron can tell he is not exactly happy about him telling Artie. Shit! I think my aunt was a super psychic. Super psychic? As opposed to what? Sorta psychic? No, she had like tarot cards and shit and told half my siblings that they were up to shady shit, that the cartel was going to disappear them.
Well, did they get disappeared?
I mean, one died after a routine surgery, but the cartel wasn't involved, as far as I know.
I see dead furries all the time. That's so sad. Sorry, I don't know why I laughed.
It's cool, I get it. So not really psychic, or at least not like himself. It feels wrong to him, but Cameron feels almost dismissive of anyone that doesn't see things like he does. He's different in a good way, and for once he feels like he can admit that. He had seen his friend's death a few months back before it happened, and he'd had dreams about that were so accurate to the future that it had seemed almost like deja vu.
I want to go for a walk. Everyone looks really neat right now. Everything looks real neat right now.
Dope! Let's go see some ghosts! Devin helps Cameron down from the trunk, kind of leaning against him as they start walking. At this point, Devin has resigned himself to the fact that Cameron is going to do what he wants, and all Devin can do is respect his decision. while Artie reminding him more than once that Cameron is an adult had been annoying. It's also true that Devon has no right to take that decision away from Cameron. Still, there's a part of him that's hurt that Cameron would disregard his own feelings on the matter, especially after opening about the lake. But Devon also disregarded Cameron's feelings when bringing him here, at least as an extent that the bear had thought was reasonable. Now, it seems like he's reaping what he sowed. Still, Devon remembers bringing up something that should keep them from venturing out too far out of town. We should only go as far as the motel. Cam and I had a brush with some gun-toting redneck near the other side of town last night. Whoa, really?
Oh, one yelled at us from really far away, and Dev ran so hard he got a gnarly cramp in his thigh.
Again, he had a shotgun. Doesn't that bother you guys, Artie?
Meh.
I've had guys flash their guns at me on the road because I flipped them off. Every one of them is too chicken shit to shoot, and this was even when I flew out the old Azulia Blanco in my car. Well, lucky for you. People here don't know what that is. Now, if I were to mount a Sonorian flag on my Jeep while flipping the bird... Anyway, I say we stick around this area. No further from the motel.
You should be more careful, though, Artie. I swear I hear a road rage story every few months when someone gets shot.
Honestly, Cam, it's my fork in the road. I say, let it happen. You gotta live, and if that involves getting shot on the freeway because you made fun of someone's driving, then so be it.
Is it really a fork in the road if the other option is death?
Yeah, one of the roads just leads to a dead end. Or something. I don't know. I'm high as hell right now.
I think the metaphor is more appropriate for long-term consequences, though.
Devon just smirks at the meaningless back-and-forth banter about fork-in-the-road metaphors that just seem so profound to them right now.
You know, my mom always talks about her fork in the road being the 5th grade, and that it led her to having a shitty life.
Seems kinda young for having a decision like that come up.
I think she just likes to be able to point at a moment everything went wrong. But anyway, they'd been hyping up this space shuttle launch for months, and she decided that she was going to be an astronaut. She went to the public library for the first time in her life to check out books about astrophysics and stuff.
Dev suddenly had a good idea on where this was going.
Then, while the whole class was watching the liftoff on TV, it exploded. And even though her teacher turned it off and went about her day like nothing had happened, they all knew the astronauts were dead. It made her question all of her plans. She drifted through life after that, not knowing what she wanted to be anymore.
Damn, that's fucked up, man. Do you know what happened, by the way? Why that happened, by the way? Cameron gave Dev a confused look, as did Artie, like they'd forgotten he's even there.
Why my mom didn't know what to do? It's because she watched clips of smiling, waving astronauts getting on a space shuttle that exploded on live TV, Devon.
Devon sighs, realizing he'd have to make things clear for this high version of Cameron. No, I mean why the space shuttle exploded. Because rockets and fuel cause explosions, right? No, well, yeah, but mainly it's because they didn't listen to their engineers. You know, the people that stand between you and a pancake shopping mall, or a freeway bridge collapsing during rush hour, or an exploding space shuttle. Dev raises his eyebrows, meaningful at Cameron, though weirdly enough he realizes that he's mainly talking to himself. Always listen to your engineer. He solves practical problems. His half-assed attempt at making the conversation about listening to his advice quickly backfires, though. Well, if those engineers are like the ones on Pueblo, I'm willing to bet more people would have listened to them if they didn't act like such a know-it-all pricks. Someone's still sore from having to drop out of their major. Fuck you too.
Hey, come on, guys. We're feeling good right now. You know, Artie, I've dated an engineer for 5 years now. They gotta talk down to you to do their job.
Cameron walks against Devin and playfully nudges him with a shoulder. Even though Cameron is playing along with what Devin started, hearing his boyfriend say that actually stings a bit. Babe, I don't talk down to you. I don't mean to anyway. R2 makes a face and Dev knows his best to pretend like he didn't see it.
Hey, I'm just kidding. I agree with you. If people let disasters happen because they're too proud to listen to the experts, then fuck them. Maybe if they had, my mom wouldn't be on a space station right now.
Maybe. Mistakes happen, though. They remind us to keep our guard up. Because it always slips, eventually, you know?
I think I do.
Dev smiles, pleasantly surprised that Cameron seems to be heeding his advice to be careful. For the first time in a day, he finds himself starting to relax a little. The end of this bizarre nightmare is in sight. They're already starting to circle back around to the car. You know, it's kind of amazing to think about that you two are still together. That brings Dev out of his reverie rather quickly. Why is that? Well, all our friends didn't last more than a few years out of college, and if you think about it, you and Cam are probably the biggest opposites of all those relationships.
I think the most important thing in a relationship is getting along. If you can't do that for 90% of the time, you're probably set. That and having different hobbies and spending time apart adds to a healthy relationship.
Man, sometimes you need a little self-help relationship book or something. Maybe that's why. I think that we're both very reasonable people. That's usually all you need. Well, I'm happy that it all worked out. Especially after your first relationship. Honestly, looking back, I was basically setting Cam up to be a rebound. I wasn't really meaning to, of course. You know, I forgot you somehow managed to say the wrong things. Forgot how you sometimes manage to always say the wrong thing at the wrong time, Artie.
Well, it's been a long time, so I'm interested. I just wonder who you were with before me. All you said is that they were like a month-long fling.
Artie seems to be making this as a go-ahead to reveal irrelevant and embarrassing information about Dev's previous love life. He was a fox named Jesus, right, Devon? I never brought him up because that relationship literally lasted 2 months.
A fox, huh?
Cameron says in a contemplative way, in a way that makes Devon uneasy, even though the coyote is probably just truly curious. Still, Devon has to wonder if Cam is now suspecting he has a canine fetish or something. Well, yeah, it was short, but when he dumped Cat Dev, he went the full chick flick route and laid in bed for a few weeks eating ice cream. I was so worried about him that I set the two of you up. Devon's muzzle burns under the fur, even hotter than the heat of the desert. Why did I ever tell you anything in confidence? Well, it's more like I saw it, like the entire dorm did.
Is that true, Devon?
To Devon's dismay, Cameron sounds genuinely interested now, combined with a degree of concern.
You seemed so put together when I first met you.
It wasn't you that was set up. It wasn't you that set us up. You mentioned me that your girlfriend's friend, who happened to be Cameron's friend, she set us up. Yeah, you can word it like that, but if I didn't remember them mentioning that super hot guitar coyote, too bad he's gay, dude. Who knows what you'd be doing now?
Oh, yeah, that's me.
And less than a week later, I knew it worked because I walked in and the two of you were fucking.
Oh God, why are you bringing that up?
Yeah, like, why? Because it was funny. Because I walked in and like a dozen people going at it at some point. Hell, back when the university library was open 24/7, you had a 50-50 chance of walking in on a pair of rats going in at 2 a.m. in one of the back rooms. Arturo prattles on and Cameron while Devin sulks behind a bit. The bear finds himself wishing that he'd been the one to tell Cameron all that. The way Artie described it made it sound more unstable in a way. The fox had been cute, but Devin never really knew him more before Jesus abruptly broke it off. When he first met Cameron, on the other hand, he was cute and hot, especially with his guitar and voice, but that was just surface stuff. Cameron was also nice and considerate and thoughtful and complex in ways that the bear is still trying to fully understand. Devin had girlfriends in high school, so people wouldn't get suspicious, but the fox had been what he considered to be his first real relationship, and he'd simply overreacted to his first real breakup. Looking back on his 19-year-old self, it's hard to understand why it felt like the end of the world. If Cameron were to disappear from his life now, it'd be the end of the world. And the world he knew at least. Maybe if for some terrible reason it did come to an end, he would look back 10 years from now and think the same about his 25-year-old self, but he doubts that. 5 years is a long time, and he plans to spend the rest of his life with Cameron. Unlike the fling in college, losing Cameron would be a traumatic, life-changing disaster. Just thinking about it now makes his throat tighten. The abyss he's felt below his feet since he was 12, that emotional scar left over from the last traumatic event of his life, seems to yawn a bit wider. The bear thinks back to the point he'd been trying to make about engineers, helping to avoid catastrophic failures, and why it felt like he had been talking to himself. There's a moment in which recovery is impossible, where a chain reaction of small disasters are set off that then mushroom into a tragedy. Maybe he'd been reminding himself about what could happen, or maybe he's realizing something that's already happened. Why does it feel like he's already past that point, the point where he has a decision at a literal fork and set in motion a cascade of failures? There's no reason for him to feel that way, considering they're just minutes away from leaving, but it feels hopeless now. He ignored all the signs and he turned right. Ignored all the signs. Just like all those officials who ignored the signs of their department board, stores, bridges, dams, and spaceships. And at least until everything fell apart and it could no longer be ignored. Whoa, did I just do impromptu there? Wait, that was just the ghosts. Ooh, anyway. Time passes quickly, and bantering with Artie and Devin made Cameron forget that he was trying to do it in the first place. He wonders if maybe that had been Devin's goal. He should be keeping his mind open, not covering up potential spirits with loud, obnoxious laughs as they reminisce about their college days. Because right now he's feeling something strange that he can't explain. Alright, ready to head out? Man, you didn't even find anything scary. You don't look for scary things, you let them happen. And nothing happens, so Cameron can't leave now.
Hey, Dev, please don't be mad at me.
Dev doesn't say anything, and that makes Cameron squirm. Oh, you two want to fight again?
Can I have 5 minutes alone, please?
No.
Just 5 minutes, and I swear we'll be done.
Cameron,
I can feel something. I don't know what, but you guys are making it hard to hear.
Cameron, the motel is right there. I'm not leaving you here. His tone is resolute, so unshaken that Cameron shrinks into himself, realizing that he's reached Dev's limit. Artie clears his throat. Not to butt in, but how about this? Me and Dev stand at the end of the road over there so we can see you, and then make sure nothing bad happens.
Please, Dev. I just really need to figure something out, and it's gonna bother me forever if I don't. Please?
Dev is clearly taken by Cameron's intensity, which has been Cameron's intention. Something is wrong, and he needs to confirm it. Is what you're doing safe? Could it hurt you?
I don't know. I don't think so. It has more to do with me than ghosts, though.
Okay. We'll be up the road. Please be careful and yell if you don't need us. If you need us. If you don't need us.
Okay, thank you.
Dev kisses Cameron on the forehead for a moment before walking away up the road. Artie looks back and forth, confused, before following Dev. Alone now, Cameron can tell that something is definitely different. He can't put his finger on it, but it's just not like him being residually high. It's almost like he can see more clearly. Like he can see more. Meaning in nothing. Cameron isn't sure what to think about this. The weed is making it happen, though, just like he hoped it would. But it's weak. He can hear the voices of those who passed, just barely playing along with the wind. For just a fraction of a second, he thinks of trying opioids just once more, and how that would truly help him see things. The thought leaves him being physically repulsed to the point that he almost retches, the visceral reaction surprising even him. 3 years of substance abuse, the death of his mother, the deaths of his friends. He vividly remembers those 2 weeks when he quit cold turkey, hiding away in his friend's basement in a pool of sweat, shaking, having every bathroom issue possible, wanting to rip through his fur and skin to run into the street, to run into a car. He cried constantly. He hated himself. He was worthless. He needed to die. He had to die. But at the end of those 2 weeks, he'd made it. It was hard, but his friends would always tell him, withdrawals aren't the hard part. The hard part is finding pills in a friend or relative's medicine cabinet months later, years later. The hard part is crushing those pills up into neat lines of power, staring at them, telling yourself you don't need it. You don't have to do it, but you do it. You always do it. No matter how many times you get clean, somebody like Cameron needed something else to keep him clean. And that's Devin, because the shame and heartache of Devin finding out wouldn't ever be worth it. But knowing this moment, any moment, can be far better with a single pill. Unfortunately, that feeling will always be there. So no, this is stupid, and he won't touch drugs again, not even weed. The window. At first, Cameron is only surprised. There is something he hasn't seen in months, not since October of last year, but still, he had kind of hoped this would happen. The creature, the manifestation, is somehow connecting to his abilities. He'd always thought it to be mental illness. But now that he knows that there's something more to all of this, maybe it's a sign, a harbinger of sorts, that might lead him to important visions. Still, something about it especially unsettling this time. Something is wrong. Something is different, and it's more than just the raincoat monster appearing. Arches and half circles. His train of thought cuts off as he notices a barely discernible movement from the creature. Aside from a handful of moments in the past that felt like glitches more than anything else, the creature never moved. It was always like a cardboard cutout. We just played a game about cardboard cutouts. So, hey, there's our transition to this game. Anyways, breaking the fourth wall and getting back into character, here we go. It's no longer cutout. It's no longer cardboard though. It's breathing. What is happening? He's not thinking right. This thing isn't part of Echo. Cameron knows that. So why is it acting different, more alive, as if the town is amplifying it? Maybe it's just these settings, his nerves, the weed, but now he's realizing how strange it is that he's been so relieved to find out he's psychic. Doesn't he still have problems? It's not like all these issues just were solved. Are those voices of the dead, of something else? Are these ghosts or hallucinations? Is there a difference? Suddenly a whole new wave of anxiety rushes over the canine. Just like that, he's not sure about anything anymore. He'd have such a beautiful, life-changing epiphany, and now he looks up the road towards Dev and Artie, but they're not there, and Cameron stares, wondering what's real anymore. He looks back at the monster, standing in that window. If it is a harbinger of something important, he should go into that room. Otherwise, he'll just leave here knowing he's crazy, knowing he's on the verge of a fucking psychotic break. Oh, damn it. Damn it. What am I doing? And then he's moving for the window, for that monster, the whispers growing and the distortions twisting. Devin watches his boyfriends in the distance carefully, feeling anxiety come back down a bit as Cameron just seems to stand there. So, what's the deal, man? You know what I'm talking about. What happened? Did he see some fucked up shit and because you seem really, really worried? For a moment, Devin is glad Artie cuts himself off, but then... Hey, what the fuck? Ah. Artie is suddenly turned around the road towards his car. Devin looks to see a man standing next to the car, the hood up. Devin isn't sure what to do at first, either go to Cameron or follow Artie. Cameron seems oblivious in the distance, which is probably for the best. It doesn't look like the man is carrying any sort of weapon, so deciding his friend is going to need help, he runs after Artie. Dev runs up to the car just as the old weasel man headbutts Artie in the face. Oh fuck! Son of a bitch! Artie stumbles and falls on his ass. Hey! The weasel regards him coolly, seeming not bothered by the fact that he just used his own face as a battering ram. Hey. Dev doesn't know what to say, mostly because he doesn't know why the guy did what he just did. While Artie moans on the ground, a paw on his forehead. That at least gives Dev a starting point. You can't just fucking do that, man. What are you doing? Adjusting things. Shows up a pair of pliers. Devin can hear his heart pounding in his ears as he sees the toolbox balance on the bumper. Why? Give me the... Devin starts to step towards the pliers and from the man, but a flash of light blinds him. Devin never been hit before, not as an adult at least. His size usually deterred anyone from trying anything, and he normally didn't get into those kinds of situations anyway. So this moment takes what feels like a long time for his brain to process. He stumbles on his feet, paws uselessly outstretched, trying to refocus when something explodes in his stomach and it starts to expand like a balloon under his rib cage. The bear doubles over in shock, feeling like a vacuum had been opened in his torso before he falls to his knees. The long, strained sound of agony seems to go on forever as his diaphragm refuses to work. Only now does he realize he was punched in the stomach as well, and while he had the wind knocked out of him before, it was nothing like this. How about that, fat ass? Dev goes down, droning in response, a small part of him considering that he might have actually suffocated to death. Holy hell, man! What the fuck is your problem?
Oh, you want to know?
Devin, still with his face on the ground, only hears a moment above him, and that's followed by a gasp from Artie.
I have a problem with sick fucks like you two dicking around in a place because you think it's funny.
Dev is the only one now starting to get his breath back, but his eyes locked on the gun in his face and his insides turned to water, which had nothing to do with the punch.
Where were you 5 years ago, huh? Back with Mommy and Daddy living in your middle-class houses. Thought you'd come out here and see the crazy meth heads are up to. How they all killed each other.
The man adjusts his grip on the gun, and Dev almost chokes with fear. Either the old man was going to shoot him, or he's just going to do it on accident.
Is this still fun?
Artie's rough breathing takes to Devin. It is the only thing that lets the bear know that the cat is still there with him. Dude, listen. We didn't mean.
You listen, dude. I gave you assholes a whole fucking day to get the fuck out, and you're still here. Since you're so goddamn comfortable, hope you don't mind being stuck here for good.
With that, the man turns away, sticking his gun down his pants before calmly collecting his tool, closing his toolbox, and walking off the road, straight through the sagebrush.
Holy shit. It's a 9-mile walk to the freeway. I suggest you leave the moment it gets cool. And that's friendly advice. There's much worse things out here than me, you stupid fucks.
Artie bends over. If you want them to leave so badly, why not just let them keep their damn fucking car? Come on. Weasel mugging. Artie bends over Devin, who slowly stumbles to his feet, hunched over, his stomach aching far worse than his muzzle, which he wipes clean of blood. Fuck, man. What did he do? Artie looks back at the car, and even from here, Dev can see wiring sticking out from the hood. I can't fucking believe this. Hang on, I'll get Cam. Alright, man. I'll see if this thing is even worth coming back for. Devin jogs up the road, grunting with each step, each one sending a jolt through his stomach. While the weasel hadn't moved in this direction, Dev isn't taking chances. He also needed to make sure the coyote is... Cameron? He shouldn't be panicking, not yet, but that feeling is starting to back up again, and after having a gun pointed at his face. Cameron! No answer. Devin heaves for the air, looking around until he sees a flash of flannel through the motel window. He's next to it in a second, unable to fit. He pries back the boards with his bare paws. Then he pushes through and tumbles into thick darkness. Despite having seen this monster through the window in some form or another for over 15 years now, Cameron realizes he never really tried to move towards it. In the beginning, he tried to run away, of course, but it ended up following him. It never moved when he looked at it, but the second he looked away and back again, it would reappear closer, usually at that 20 to 30 foot distance. When he learned to ignore it, it just sort of blended into the background, and he almost stopped noticing it. As Cameron squeezed through the boards covering the window, he's only a few feet away from the thing. He realizes that if he made contact with it, that if it's solid, then he wouldn't know what to think. He never even considered it might be real. But now, as those unnaturally long claws dangle from the sleeves of the raincoat, Cameron starts to worry. As he moves those last few feet, though, Raincoat Monster starts to dissolve into a dim lighting of the room, and the coyote is inside. It happens in a way that makes Cameron think of a mirage. But the creature is still here, across the room, against the wall, its ever-present deranged grin plastered to its dark furred face. Cameron moves towards it again, slowly this time, the creature still seemingly frozen, but in a way a real person would try to appear frozen. The creature is almost like an imitation of one he'd gotten to know so well, the one that almost became a companion of sorts in his childhood. About halfway across the dark, cluttered room, Raincoat Monster bends sideways, almost like it's going to do a cartwheel towards the bathroom door. Its heavy clawed hands don't move, though, and instead it just keeps bending like a bridge, like an arch. And then it slips into the darkness of the bathroom. Cameron stares, the feeling of unease growing. Of course, shit like this always makes him feel uneasy. It makes him feel fucking crazy. But what just happened now is felt deliberate, like he's being toyed with somehow. Raincoat Monster had toyed with him plenty of times before, especially the first time he saw it. It was his own mind doing, after all. But what made him feel nervous now is that it seems like there's something else behind it. Almost like whatever was behind his first vision in that other motel room is behind this as well. So he should leave, right? Whatever that is doesn't seem to have very good intentions. All it seems to want is to fuck with him. If it is the same way that hijacked his first vision, then it couldn't look back. Like anything. It disguised himself as Dev and said awful things to him. Disguised itself. Was that even a disguise? Is it possible Devin somehow made it that call? That would be the most plausible explanation aside from malicious ghosts being real. Something he never believed until now. He trusts Devin, though. Cameron looked back at the boarded window. Why did Artie and Devin abandon him like this? Is this part of Devin's investigation still? Is this a setup of some kind, like a test? Cameron continues to just stand in the middle of the motel room staring around himself. This isn't right. He's not making sense. These thoughts don't make sense, but there are some connections that he can't deny that something about this whole situation is off. The voices, the whispering, it continues to ebb and flow, and there's a silent electronic quality to it. It's not impossible that someone could have planted a speaker in this room to make him think he's hearing the voices of ghosts. After all, Devin had been quite so adamant that he not come back to the motel and with him to gather his equipment. That would have been the perfect opportunity. He tries to listen to them, but they blend together and mumble quietly, and he can't make anything out. If this is a setup, the Raincoat Monster could be a real person, someone in a costume, or something is wrong. Suddenly, thinking itself becomes difficult. He's still high after all, but at the same time, things are starting to make at least some sort of sense. If this is some kind of sick joke, that could explain a lot. A distant chuckle breaks through the hushed whispers. It sounds like Devin. Devin? Cameron points his ears towards the bathroom. Artie? Guys? You can't be doing this to me, right? His voice is weak, unsure, and afraid. Something creaks to his left, and the coyote jumps, staring wide-eyed. Guys? In the back of his mind, Cameron knows that whatever this is, whatever is going on inside of his mind, it's not good. He needs to get out. Suddenly, something starts pulling at the boards of the window. Cameron gasps, stumbling back, an explosion of fear taking in a way they'd never experienced before. Cameron, you're in there, right? You okay? It looks like Devin, but the coyote is moving for the bathroom because he's not completely sure, and if there really is Dev. Cameron pulls the door to the bathroom closed and fumbles the knob until he finds and pushes a lock that somehow still works. Cameron! Honey, are you in there? Cameron keeps quiet, pressing his paws to his muzzle, suppressing his instinctual urge to respond. Cameron! Cameron listens to the bear's heavy footsteps on the ruined floor. Then the doorknob of the bathroom violently vibrates. Cameron yelps,
Stop, I'm sorry, I need to figure things out right now.
There's a pause, one that seems to go on for a very, very long time. What? Devin's voice is equal parts confused and concerned. Baby, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What happened?
I don't know. Why did you guys leave me?
Leave you? I'm right here.
I looked up the road and you were gone.
Oh, Cameron, something happened. It's a little complicated, but I can tell you about it on the way out. I'm sorry we left, and I said I'd watch you, but we need to go right now. Something happened. It's a little complicated. Cameron, please open the door. You're freaking me out right now, honey. Only puts Cameron on edge that Devin thinks he's the one acting strange.
You're freaking me out right fucking now. Why did you bring me here? Is Artie there too?
I think Cameron's crazy. Honey, can you tell me what's wrong? Did something happen? You're really starting to worry me, baby. It's like a giant set of claws. As Cameron gasps and screams as another set of claws grip over the top of his head. He completely forgot about Raincoat Monster, but even if he had remembered, he never thought it could touch him. Cameron, open the door! Open, god damn it! Stand back, Cam! The air seemed to explode as the flimsy motel bathroom door splinters with ease, Dev having kicked it in. With some light filling the bathroom, Cameron sees that he's fighting with nothing. He thought it had to be Artie. The bear is grabbing him, trying to pull him or pin him, and Cameron just struggles trying to pull away. Cameron, what happened? Please calm down.
Just let me go.
Cameron is crying now, and it's making him gasp for air. Let's breathe, Cam.
No, stop doing this to me. Just let me go.
Doing what to you? What happened?
I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Cameron's struggles became more wild, kicking and fighting, with Dev with much powerful and stronger grip. What the fuck? Dev seems to say it to himself, almost in a whisper. Oh, whoops. Well, that would have been good information before I read the line, game. What the fuck? There we go. As if unable to believe what's happening. Hey, Dreamus, how's it going? Cameron isn't able to either.
None of this is real, is it?
Huh?
Did you set this up? To make me believe or something?
What? Why? How would I do that?
Speakers or costumes? I don't know. Ow, you're hurting me!
Devin finally lets Cameron go, though he tries to hold on to him to make him look at the bear. But Cameron takes the opportunity to escape, running right for the window, much easier to get through than after Dev's entry. Cameron!
I'm sorry, I just need to think.
Cameron can hear Devin crying now, but he can't stop. He needs to get out. He needs to get away. He falls clumsily through the window, and as he stands up, he gasps as he comes face to face with Artie. Suddenly, he notices how similar the color of fur is to the raincoat monster. Whoa, dude! You okay? What's going on? I can hear you guys yelling all the way! Artie trails off as Cameron backs away from the cat, keeping him in view until he can run away up the road to somewhere that's not here. Dev sobs as he fumbles out to get out the window, wondering if he's dreaming. This can't be happening. He looks around the parking lot, but all he sees is Artie. Where'd he go? Artie points wordlessly, and Devin jogs up the length of the parking lot to look around the motel. How's it going, Summer? Is Dreamus the raincoat monster? No, he's a dragon. But he does like water. They like water. Sorry, it's hard for me to learn the new pronoun, and it's harder when you know somebody for a long time and they do a pronoun change. But I'm trying to get better at that. Cameron is nowhere in sight. Devin tries for a while, hoping to see Cameron pop out from behind one of the dilapidated structures, but he doesn't. Devin, what happened? Something wrong with Cameron. I know. He looked totally freaked out. Did that meth head get to him too or something? No, I don't know. He's not making sense. He's not thinking right. What do you mean? Still staring, realizing Cam might have already made it to the dirt road off Main Street. Devin rubs his face vigorously with both paws. He said something about us setting him up. Setting him up? For what? I don't know. It's like he's not in his right state of mind or something. Devin stops himself from saying completely lost it because that just sounds wrong. Seeing no sign of Cameron, Devin suddenly feels panic bloom in his chest. What if Cameron is so far gone that he's gone running off into the desert? He would die. Shit. Are you sure he ran this way? Dev starts to walk quickly up the road, looking at each abandoned structure, scanning the desert landscape all the while. His panic was settling into a dull, persistent feeling of dread, and his crying is mostly under control, just sniffing every once in a while, now and then. Artie follows behind him. Yeah, positive, man. He was running, though. Shit. Hey, he just looked really emotional. Doesn't he have panic attacks? Yeah, but that wasn't a panic attack. Something else is going on. Has he done this before? No. Isn't he on medication? No, man. He's not on medication. But wasn't he? Dude, this isn't helping anything right now. Sorry, it's just that I remember him telling me he was on an antipsychotic back in college. Devin's button runs cold. I think it was just, like, antidepressants or something. Why would he even tell you? Cameron! Dev's voice echoes hollowly up the street, unanswered. He was on both, I'm pretty sure. He was talking to Maria about it since she's been on a bunch of them for her bipolar disorder. I think he was just looking for advice on how to deal with the slide effects and I was a psych major, so there's that. Were you? Cameron! This is gonna be like the Jason of this game. Jason! 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 Duh, I was a failed STEM major. Behavioral sciences are the next step. Despite that being something Artie might normally say, it sounds forced, like he's trying to keep the mood light. All Devin can think about right now is that he couldn't even be bothered to know what medications his boyfriend was taking and why. He just knew they made him feel like shit. So when Cameron said that he wanted to stop whatever it was he was taking, Devin encouraged him, and Cameron seemed happier after that. Oh boy. Anyway, I'm not saying he's like schizophrenic. Antipsychotics can be combined with antidepressants for just plain old depression sometimes. I think he's just panicking a little. I probably would if I were went into that motel alone. No. Cameron was panicking, sure, but he was accusing Devin of setting him up, of tricking him. Cameron didn't trust him, and that's something Devin has never seen before. And remember, with his high tolerance, he's probably still pretty high. Could be paranoid. Devin gasps, and Arturo stares at him frozen, then rage and horror explodes in Devin's chest. The fucking weed. Whoa. What happened? You fucking know he has problems. Was on medication in college and you let him get stoned? Artie stares. Well, I didn't remember until just now, and besides, and that's what it's making him freak out. It's going to wear off. No, he said I was tricking him. He didn't trust me, Artie. He said I was planting fucking speakers and so he'd hear voices. Artie continues to stare, but doesn't say anything this time. Devin does his best to avoid saying what he's thinking is happening. That's not panic. That's more than just that. Fuck, man. His mom died because of this shit, and if he's gone wandering off in the middle of the desert right now, and then he remembered, then when he had researched psychosis, he came across plenty of stories just like this. The way many of them ended. Devin feels like he's about to throw up. After a few seconds of silence, Artie clears his throat. Listen, we don't know anything yet, but if I caused this to happen, then I'm sorry. Either way, I'm going to help you find your man, okay? It's only been 5 minutes. Devin starts to calm down, breathing more evenly. Like I said, my girlfriend is bipolar, and even though I know it's not exactly the same, she's had moments like this too, and we always came out alright. So how about we look for 20, maybe 30 minutes? I'm sure we'll find him. If we don't, then I'm gonna go run my ass back up the road until we get cell service and call 911, alright? Devin takes a shuddering breath. Yeah, okay. Let's go.
There's no way. There's no way.
Cameron shakes his head back and forth, unwilling to believe Dev, his boyfriend, the person he loves the most, would do this to him. But why? Devin is the one that wants to leave and wants to protect him from this nightmarish town. How would this help at all, making all the ghosts up? Devin truly wants to understand what's happening to Lupita and where she is. Nowhere. So, he'd want Cameron's visions to be true. Unless it's both. He could have been involved in the vision he had by the lake, right? Or what he had heard in the forest. Those were real. Cameron feels it deep down that they had to have been real. He couldn't have made up that recounting of the forest creature or the girl being murdered. Maybe Devin was worried Cameron would give up if he didn't see anything and wanted to make sure by by hanging himself in the closet, by creating one of the worst moments of Cameron's life. Devin would never do that. Would never think to do that. And he's thinking this. Something flickers in Cameron's vision. It's hard to describe, but there's a vividness to what he's seeing. And then the lighting begins to change, just like it had next to the lake. The coyote stops, rigid and apprehensive, not really interested in having visions at the moment. He doesn't have any say in the matter, though. This time, the lighting takes on a surreal, ominous blood-red glow that even Cameron thought he was prepared. He definitely isn't. He stands in the unnatural light, feeling a bit sick, and then realizes he's actually someone else, just like when he saw that girl's life end. But he seems to snap into his host as he looks down at the body of a creature he can't quite make out. Oh, over here. I see it in the corner. That's cool. That's a cool effect. I wonder if like some people go through this and don't see the hand on the ground over there on the left, in the bottom left corner. This person he's becoming breathes heavy, doubled over his giant paws and knees, feeling sick. He'd never killed someone before. This little fag deserved it at least. Oh, this is the beginning story. Like, remember the very first entry, like the what they call the that thing where the guy was running into the desert and then the guy, you know, almost forgot about that that scenario, but it's kind of disturbing. It was a very disturbing scenario to start the game off with, man. Gotta scare people off. Anyways, let's get that word off the screen. He spits on the body, then suddenly realizes he needed to get rid of it. As far as he knows, no one knows that he's here, all the way from Pathan. And if he can get rid of the body, no one will ever know he did it. He prepares himself, finding it easier and easier to come to terms with the murder. The thrill he got from it, the swooping feeling in his chest that immediately made his woof get hard. It's a bit worrying even to him. With a deep breath, he leans down and suddenly feels like he's being watched. Slowly, he looks up. Oh, it's a UFO, apparently. Hovers over the road, watching him. This is Utah. This is the American Southwest, after all. It wouldn't be anything if there wasn't a UFO in the sky. He'd seen a handful of UFOs, all of them while he was in Echo. He'd come to realize that it wasn't aliens or whatever the fuck people believed in. It was supernatural or something. Like a ghost. He suddenly thinks back to the last week that the space shuttle blew up while his class watched it on TV. Oh, so this is a period piece. He'd been the only one to laugh when it happened. Not because it was funny, but because it was so unexpected and so boring up to that point. To him, that's the only way space could be haunted. That's the only way space could be haunted with ghosts. But for some reason, he doesn't think anything living, or at least anything that was living, is involved in this. What he realized is that those crafts, made of metal, glass, and covered in lights, are empty. As far as he's concerned, they're no different than ghosts. You get the sense that they were building up to this. Maybe. Ghosts that weren't people at all. They're hollow shells, only there to feed on the sick feeling he got when seeing them. Only there to watch him, so that the small amount of guilt he had might grow just a little bigger. And tonight, aliens would visit him, to torture him, to violate him. Not really aliens, but the same thing as the ghosts that people see in this town. It's all the same. So he ignores it all as he gets to work, and it hovers over his head, even as he feels its red eyes on the back of his neck.
That is a bad high, man. I really gotta cut back.
Cameron isn't sure what to think right now. A UFO?
What?
While the shadow creature in the forest had been a bit strange, he hadn't seen it. He'd only heard someone recounting it. Cameron assumed that the man in the vision wasn't in his right mind, maybe misinterpreting what he was experiencing. But this, a full-blown craft in the night sky over a dead body? Now Cameron is almost positive he's being toyed with like Raincoat Monster in the hotel room. It just makes him feel like he's going crazy, and it reminds him that, for some inexplicable reason, he thought Devin might be in on it. How did he even consider that Dev would be involved in this? Besides, even now, despite it being almost completely silent aside from the crunch of his footsteps on the gravel road, the voices are insistent, even louder, and how would he be able to hide speakers out here, in the middle of the desert? The arches in the background are... Ah! Yeah, they are... The sign is painted with arches, and so is the beer can. That is true, Ramir. I did not notice that. Looks like there's numbers on it, too. 8 and 5. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah, and, like, there's... like, the arches. And the clouds are arches. Oh, my goodness. And the road is arches. It's all arches. The sand is arches. The shadows are arches. That one looks bushy and inappropriate. It's all arches, man. Like, look right here in the right corner behind the cactus. Arches, man. The voices are insistent, loud, and even louder. And how would he hide speakers out here in the middle of nowhere? Now that he's focused on those voices, he can actually start to make out some words, sentence fragments. Singing, they sang. Sins of cities are always. You piece of shit. Stop listening to us whispering. Every time he catches a new voice, it fades away before it finishes what it's saying. Cameron stops so he can hear better, ears up. But the voices fade back to barely noticeable whispers on the wind. Cameron remembers those ghost hunting shows he'd watched as a few times, the way they're always trying to communicate. So he clears his throat awkwardly. Hello? Are you trying to talk to me? Do you have something you'd like to say? Cameron isn't even sure he should be saying you, because the voices are a mixture of many. But why would they all congregate on this one dirt road? Either way, they seem to have moved on, so Cameron starts walking again. It's something we should see. You think you're special, stupid shit. Again, Cameron stops, and so do the voices. Hello? Words don't even make any sense. If the ghosts are trying to talk to him, why would they say something useful? Maybe they just don't like him? And if it's a replaying of something in the past, why are they just babbling nonsense? You stupid. Cat phrases suddenly making a connection. He looks down at his foot, then brushes back over the gravel. Stupid sack of shit. Cameron stares. It's coming from the gravel, from the sounds of it anyway. The gentle wind tickles his fur in his ears, and the whispers continue. Suddenly, he's back in his trailer with his mother. He's laying back on the couch, nodding out after snorting his pills. His mother on the other side of the trailer is kneeling amongst the debris of markers for arch shapes. She's always been meticulously clean, emphasizing that while they may live in a trailer, they can still make it look nice. But over the past years, she'd seemed to care less and less about that now. Dishes were used and never cleaned, boxes of takeout opened and left where they were eaten. Cameron himself couldn't be bothered to tidy up. It's easier now that his mom doesn't give a fuck. He can do drugs right in front of her now. The post-it notes and strips of fabric tied to every arch his mother spotted. Even the things Cameron is pretty sure aren't arches made the place look like a disaster anyway. What does bother him, though, as he watches her through half-lidded eyes, is the way she looks. Her fur is disheveled and sticking up in different places, and she's in the same clothes she's been in for a week. She started to have a strange odor about her, but Cameron felt too weird to tell his own mother she smelled bad. It's sad. He almost wishes she'd scream at him and slap him like she did when she found his drugs. Almost. Because right now, he feels so good and she seems happy enough to listen to that fan. Cameron covers his muzzle, heart pounding, listening to the whispering wind. No. His eyes blur with tears. He turns around because he's worried someone might be watching him, and his feet scrape with the gravel. Sadness seems to always... Cameron covers his ears, feeling that now familiar rising tide of panic in his chest. He's going crazy. Just like his mother, he's losing his mind. But his mother changed over the course of months. This is so sudden. He's never heard voices before. Or has he? The hallucination he'd have of Devon hanging, that was a voice. But that could have been a dream too. But now Cameron's breathing is really starting to get out of control. And he wants to run back to Devon and apologize just so he can hold each other again. Of course Devon didn't fuck with him over this, and Cameron can't understand why he thought that. It seems like a possibility just a few seconds ago. But something holds him from running back now, and that's because if he's crazy, he doesn't want Dev to see it. Sure, he'd have a few nervous breakdowns and panic attacks in the first few years of their relationship, but that's normal crazy. This is actually crazy. It's psychotic. And while Dev would hold him, comfort him, and take him away from this place, who's to say what would happen after that? Behind his outgoing nature and warm smile, Dev would be doubting their relationship. He already is. He'd be worn down by Cameron's deteriorating mental state, his deteriorating hygiene, the deterioration of a man he once knew as the spiral into delusions deepens. Stop it. Stop it. I'm not Mom. No, but you're her son. That voice, the one that comes back from inside his head, the one that doesn't feel like his inner voice, the one that won't shut the fuck up. Cameron is walking back the way he came, back toward Devon, towards what he knew is real and safe. But is he? Yes. Even though he's scared, he says it confidently, and strangely enough, he feels what seems like a pause in the voice on the voice's end. Like it's not quite sure how to respond. Good. Cameron thinks this time with his own thoughts. He makes sure to walk to the side of the road, the dusty, somewhat rocky surface preferable to the whispering gravel. Devon keeps trying to figure out how things could have gone so wrong. His feeling earlier about an impending catastrophic failure now feeling fully validated. It's happened. He took those courses emphasizing engineering ethics. He studied cases in which every step of a disaster was detailed and exactly how each step was preventable. He took great care in his career to make sure he would never become one of those studies. The machines he helped design were as safe as possible. And while he'd always thought this, it's the fact he didn't even know Cameron was on an antipsychotic at some point, just that he was on meds. He knew Cameron's problems were concerning, and he reassured himself with a crash course in abnormal psychology. Though he's never openly disdainful of his peers, the idea of trying to explain complex behaviors through endless theories was frustrating, to say the least. He chalked it up to him being one of those people who simply never needed a solid answer, a number. But he also remembers those months when Cameron was on his medication, how one night he'd had Dev sit with him in the arts building on campus. It was late, and no one was around as Cameron almost angrily bashes on the keys of the grand piano, asking him if any of it sounded good. Dev said it sounded fine. Then the coyote finally broke down, saying he couldn't write music anymore. That, emotionally, things had come back and become black and white, that there was a wall between him and who he was. That's the medicine he was taking. But the medicine he was taking was the reason he fucked up his chance with the label. And as Cameron sobbed over the piano, Devin had decided that psychology doesn't know a thing about how people work. That psychiatrists might as well be drug dealers with an office. It was then the same for his mother after what happened with Lapitia. Even now, she struggles with her addiction to benzodiazepines, something carelessly prescribed to her so she'd stop wheeling all the time. To Devin, it seemed like psychology never moved past lobotomies. Instead, they just converted it to pills. And he never really changed that mindset. And it's why he never encouraged Cameron to seek some sort of help, especially if he didn't want it. What he took away from his research is that hallucinations of any kind are a serious concern and should never be brushed off. But he had done just that with the idea that maybe there's more to hallucinations for some people than psychology will ever understand. Maybe it's ghosts. Devin wants to hit himself. In fact, he wishes the Weasel Man had added a kick in the nuts to go with that gut punch. Something else needed to help remind him how utterly stupid he is. The concept of the paranormal was so far from his mind at this point that he doubts he'll ever dabble in it again. See? There he is, dude! Devin looks up, and sure enough, he sees Cameron running toward them. The smile of relief on the coyote's face seems to break down the emotion in Devin's chest. That wild look he'd had earlier, the one that had looked at him as if he were a stranger, is gone. The next thing he knows, he's running too. He wonders why Cam is running on the rough rocks and thorny vegetation, but Devin joins him, and Cameron runs into his chest with a thump.
I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell I was...
Stop. You're fine. That's all I care about. You're fine.
But I don't know if I am.
You are. You're here. And you're fine. And we're going home, okay?
Yeah. Careful.
Devin, knocking them back and forth on an uneven rocky ground, sends them into the dirt. But Devin pulls Cameron up into his lap, still hugging him tightly. Meanwhile, Artie is looking away, seeming to have spotted something very interesting in the miniature forest just off the road, though he's smiling. I'm sorry for bringing you here. I don't know what else to say. I'm just sorry.
No, it's my fault for thinking I was special, that I had superpowers or something.
None of this is your fault, okay? Meanwhile, the coyote plucks a sagebrush that's rubbing up against them, which he holds to his nose.
You know how I hate the desert?
Devin tries to adjust to the jarring shift of the conversation, but goes along with it, assuming Cameron just wants to focus on other things for now. I'm starting to hate it too, actually. Cameron inhales the sprig of sagebush in his bowl again.
Well, I love the smell of sagebush. The way the whole desert smells like it.
I suppose it's alright.
There's something about it that reminds me of Christmas.
That's weird coming from somebody who grew up surrounded with pine forests. Like, when we were up at my dad's cabin. Now that's a smell I can get behind. I mean, it's on your shirt.
I guess I could get used to it, and sagebrush is just a bit different.
The desert version of pine forests.
Pines can grow in the desert. Then I mean the ones in the northwest. We should go to your dad's cabin again. That was fun.
Oh, really? I thought you didn't like it.
And honestly, Devin hadn't either.
He had meant to take Cameron ice fishing like his father had taken him so many times. The second they got there, though, he realized how woefully unprepared he was.
I complain too much. But we should go there in the summer so we can, so we don't have to dig through 4 feet of snow just to open the cabin.
Devin almost laughs at the memory of being so exhausted by the time he opened the cabin that his plans to be romantically make love to Cameron went out the window the second they got to the bed. Yeah, I'll ask my dad about it when he gets back.
I just want to be somewhere with you, away from this.
Yeah, far away from this.
Dev, I don't think I'm actually psychic. I hallucinated a UFO a little bit ago. That's not real.
Oh, you just saw one?
Well, in my mind, I was someone else. I saw a dead body and I saw a spacecraft in the sky. It didn't make any sense.
I see. Well, you won't have to worry about that anymore once we're out of here.
I really, really hope we won't.
Dev isn't going to ask him to elaborate or tell him that UFOs are commonly reported in Echo, especially in times when supernatural activity is at its peak. While he wants to convince Cameron he isn't mentally ill, he knows that's not what he should be doing right now. Even though he wants to deny it, he doesn't know if it's true or not. He believes Cameron is psychic, but that's taken a backseat to the possibility of something else happening too. And Dev can't be the one to figure that out for Cameron. He can only be there to support him. Brain work in a coyote who hates the desert.
Oh shit, I think Artie's in the forest.
Eh? Sure enough, Artie's disappeared. Oh, yeah, well, he'll be alright. We'll just call for him. Not a big forest anyway.
Dev, that's where the shotgun guy is.
Oh, fuck. I forgot. Dev stares at the tree line hopefully.
Dev, we have to get him.
Well, he shouldn't be that far in. Any way we can warn him real quick, but let's keep our voices down. You get up towards the They get up and move toward the forest. Dev wants to tell Cameron to wait on the road, but at the same time, he's worried of losing him again right after finding him. Somehow, this seemingly innocuous batch of trees is even more ominous during the day. Artie! Devon whispered loudly to the trees, holding Cameron's paw as they descend into the ditch over the side of the forest. They only take a few steps into the trees before Artie calls back. Yo, just taking a whiz! Figured you guys want me staring. Dude, shut up! Dev continues to shout. What's up? Devon can see movement from Artie now, some of the bushes about 10 feet ahead of them shifting. This is where the shotgun hick yelled at us. Oh, well, I'm almost done anyway. Dev sighs, then notices Cameron's with his ears low, looking up, anxious. You alright, babe?
Did you hear, like, radio static? It's really loud.
Dev listens, but only hears wind through the trees. I think it's just leaves, honey. But there is something. Maybe what could be described as static. Actually... Jesus! He jumps as his phone notification sound goes off. Well, I definitely heard that. I do think it's just the wind, but I'm hearing it too. He takes his phone out, seeing that an email managed to get through. Important booking information. Due to ongoing public health emergencies, all reservations have been canceled. We sincerely apologize. The notification banner cuts off, and the surreal message makes Devon feel like they're isolated from the world now more than ever. So, just so you know, the pandemic is about to happen in this story, so... Just to make things even more weird, He wonders if they should try to call the police even though they still have one bar. At this point, he'd be willing to just let the authorities know that they'd been stranded more than before anything else can happen. Then something out of the corner of his eyes catches his attention. It looks like a wall of a structure of some kind, beige and peeling, hard to see through the leaves and branches. Devin holds a paw in front of Cameron, signaling for him to stay put before he takes a few cautious steps further into the forest. He thinks it's a trailer, one that looks so run down that he wouldn't be surprised if it's abandoned. What unsettles him is that it's buried deep behind the trees. It's like it's meant to be hidden. He can try to make a call further down the road, away from whatever that is. I'm here. No need to check on me. Okay, let's go. I'm going to try to make a call on the road, but we're going straight. The look on Artie's face makes the bear pause. What? What the fuck? His voice, but his tone is confusion and shock, staring over Dev's shoulder. Devin feels dread creep over him, not sure how something else could be happening right now. Something so terrible Artie has that look. Cameron stands where he left them. Oddly enough, he doesn't seem to be paying attention to them. He's staring towards the trees, and Devin can see his eyes dart left, right. His ears laying back and twitching, like he's hearing something that's too loud. His breathing is heavy, and Devin can see his chest heaving. He's panicking again, but the reason for it is clear. After a single second is all Dev has to see it, and to hear it. And then it stops on the camera. Cameron is suffocating. Just moments ago, he'd been gasping for breath, feeling the invisible dread creep up his back, the deafening static growing in his ears. But now it's completely black, and something has its limbs around him, fingers over his mouth and nostrils. He thrashes about, or at least he tries to. He goes through the motions, but there's no sensation of movement. A straining inhale of air drones right next to his ear, the thing pressing its head to the side of his face. Cameron begs it to let go, tries to call for help. Devin was right in front of him only seconds ago. Or minutes, the voice in his head returns. Or hours. Or has it been years? It doesn't matter when you're dead. Cameron doesn't think he's dead, and that he's in hell, or because, of course, he'd end up there. There is no hell. This is death. This is what happens to everyone, Cameron. Cameron realizes that it's not just the thing holding on to him that's speaking to him, because now is when it starts to speak, but it's not a voice he expects. No, get away. A woman's voice. Stupid fucking cunt! Cheating whore! A man's voice. Oh. Could you say who the voices are before you say the voices so that I can take a voice, please? A man's voice, a sickening thud. The tone of the static changes, and Cameron knows he's listening to something different, a different moment. He's dead. You could stop now. No, he's still twitching. As it continues, what sounds like someone screaming through a gag, a woman sobbing, a man begging, and then there's a shift. And though most of the voices were women, they had become exclusively young men. If you let me go, I won't tell anyone, I swear to God. No, me mates, por favor. Stop, just stop. And the voices blend together, go on and on and on. Meanwhile, Cameron goes limp, giving up, feeling as one with the next voice that comes next. Why don't you just kill me? Devin watches as Cameron's body just goes limp, and though he tries to leap forward to catch him, the coyote slips onto the ground at his feet. The bear instantly picks him up, or tries to, though it something he had done many times before. He'd never done it while Cameron was so completely lifeless. He struggles with the coyote's dead weight. Cameron! Cameron! He lays the coyote back on his back, hoping that he just wakes up. What the fuck was that? Dude, what the hell was that thing? Whatever it was just seemed to absorb into Cameron, disappearing in an instant. Devin doesn't care. 2 days ago, he would have thought he'd give him almost anything to see something like that. Now it doesn't matter at all. Cameron's chest that had just been heaving a second ago isn't moving at all now. Fuck, Artie, he's not breathing, man. What do we do? Holy shit. Maybe chest compressions, right? The panic is threatening to overwhelm the bear, his peripheral vision dimming, going dark, as he has to rest a paw next to Cameron's head to set himself steady. He can't pass out now, otherwise Cameron would only have Artie to help him, and the cat is seemingly frozen, his fingers twisting into his head fur. Why is this happening? Why would he just stop breathing? Devin tries to tilt Cameron's head back straight in his torso so he can breathe. Come on, breathe, Cam! Just breathe, please! Devin rubs at Cameron's chest. It's such a desperate and useless gesture. Do you know how to do CPR? No! Devin readies himself, wishing he could remember a single useful thing that one day he learned about CPR in high school. All he remembers is tittering with his classmates about the female mannequin chest, and now they had to touch it. His vision blurs as he uselessly places his paws one over the other in Cameron's chest. And then with a droning, raised wheeze, it comes to the coyote's mouth. Oh my god, Cam! Another labored wheeze. He's breathing, right? That's right, Cam. Come on, keep going, baby. He is, but it's still strained, like something's heavy is on his chest. Probably a bear. But not sure what else to do. Devin pulls Cameron into a sitting position, leaning the coyote against his body, and Cameron gasps. Oh, thank fucking God. Just keep breathing like that, honey. Yes! Even Artie is crying, wiping his eyes as he laughs. But what just attacked him? You saw that, right? Or am I crazy? Devin shakes his head. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Now Devin just needs Cameron to regain consciousness so he can make sure he's okay for sure. Never had he seen evidence of or believed that the supernatural could physically harm the living. Let's get out of this forest, dude. In case it comes back. Yeah, alright. He very carefully with how he moves Cameron, terrified about his breathing might stop again. But as he stands cradling Cameron in his arms, he looks up. Oh no, is it the redneck? Oh no, standing 20 feet away towards the trailer is another bear. He's holding a shotgun. Devin stares, feeling himself become oddly detached from the situation. His mind is still overwhelmed with what just happened to Cameron. That's what he wants to focus on, but the shotgun has his attention now, and for the moment, Devin thinks about just running. If he applies logic to the situation, he assumes the other bear won't shoot, but something in his eyes, something is off. So Devin says what he hopes will make clear to the other bear that they're not a threat. We need help. We're stranded and our friend is unconscious. The old-looking bear focuses on him for a few seconds. Devin hears the rustling of dead leaves and foliage next to him as Arto moves. Suddenly the bear swings the shotgun around, pointing to Devin's right. Don't move, boy. Hey! I'm sorry, don't shoot. Alright. Have a good dinner, Dreamus. Arto sounds terrified, his voice strained and high-pitched. The old bear stares at Artie for several seconds before pointing the shotgun towards the ground, but only slightly. The bear gestures at the coyote. You doing something to him? What? What? No, doing something. No, we're trying to help him. Something. Attacked him. We need to get him help. The older bear grimaces. What do you mean, something? Dev hesitates, at least until the gun is shifted in his direction. No, wait. I'm not waiting. You show up on my property making all kinds of sounds, and you're standing there with a knocked out yote. Hey, we didn't do anything to him. We're trying to help. The bear growls. I don't care if you're trying to help him or trying to fuck him. I want to know the truth, and not that something happened. The standoff continues for a few seconds before Deb jumps in again. It was something dark, like a shadow. I called it something because I didn't get a chance to see it, but it jumped him and disappeared. Devin realizes what he's saying and half expects to get shot for saying something so stupid. I swear to God, that's what happened. The old bear's eyes flick to Artie, and the cat quickly throws his support behind the ridiculous statement. Yeah, that's what happened. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was there. It was dark and had red eyes or some shit. I don't even think we should be out here right now. Devin once again wants to tell Artie to shut up, but saying more is going to make the situation worse. But instead of getting angry, the odd expression comes over the other bear's face, one that Devin can't quite decipher. Then he finally speaks, casually bringing his shotgun up to his shoulder. And it jumped on him, that yote there? Yeah. Alright. So I'm guessing y'all are on some drugs or some shit? No. Using out in the heat ain't a real smart idea. We weren't. Devin trails off, realizing this doesn't matter at all right now. We need to get him help. He's not waking up. Devin kneels, resting Cameron on the ground as he half props him up, needing to rest his tiring arms. There's a pause in which the other bear just stares down at them. A pause that's long enough that Dev opens his mouth to speak again. But that's finally when the older bear seems to break out of his trance. Shit. Of course. Sorry about the gun and all. It's just that I always get a bunch of... Whoa! I don't know if I could say that on YouTube. Lordy Lord. Shit, of course. Sorry about the gun and all. It's just I always get a bunch of on my property every now and then. Devin looks up at the suddenly friendly bear. In the back of his mind, he can almost hear sirens, very familiar sirens. Shit's not even loaded. The bear grunts as he brings the shotgun forward, pointing it back at the ground, before it seems to break in half as the stock suddenly drops down. The bear turns to show them the barrels are empty. That actually does make Devin feel a bit better, even if the gun had been pointed at them just a few minutes ago. The bear closes it again with a snap. So, I think your best bet is to call the proper authorities so that they get some help out here. You know how we can do that? There's no service here. Of course there ain't. But there is service just outside town. To the east. Works wherever you go. Works whenever I go out there to make a call. Dev's heart leaps in his chest at the idea that may be actually a quick way out of the situation. He looks in the eastward direction, ready to set off immediately. Hold on. It's a little ways out there. And it's a pretty specific spot. I can give you all a quick ride. It's no more than 5 minutes. The old bear turns away and starts making his way towards the trailer. Artie glances at him, clearly uneasy about all this. Dev is hesitant himself, but of course he would be. Anyone would be. But after everything they'd just been through, Devin looks down at Cameron, the coyote still breathing steadily, now looking almost peaceful. Still, fear grips the bear's chest. The fact that Cameron still isn't waking up is slowly increasing his worry to the point of panic again. So all those voices, I think this bear might be the guy from his first vision. I'm thinking he's an older bear, right? And this forest that he resides in seems to be pretty darn haunted, and it's just right outside of this forest that he had visions of the guy that we saw at the earlier part of the thing. Yeah, 5-minute car ride. Let's go. That's a good idea. With all this, obviously, I know this as the reader. I'm being the backseat driver of the horror genre again. Don't go in the car with him. He's gonna kill you. So he sets his jaw and follows the old bear. He half expects Artie not to follow, but he does, and the four of them disappear further into the trees. Cameron's agony has seemed as if it might last forever. The feeling of suffocation going on and on. But after an immeasurable amount of time, the fingers over his mouth and nostrils have dissolved into blackness. So did the voices, diminishing into indistinguishable whispers. Now his breaths come slow and steady, but he has to focus on them, to to consciously inhale and exhale so that it won't stop. While the experience is terrifying, the laborious nature of it almost ensures that he won't hyperventilate. After a time, the terror fades into a dull, hollow desperation, accompanied by spurts of panic. Each time he remembers he's somewhere he doesn't understand, and that he can't seem to escape it. Then gradually, even that dissolves, and like a dream within a dream, it fades away. Cameron's vision is blurry at first, and it stays that way as his eyes remain mostly closed, unfocused. Fear hitches his chest again as he realizes he's been breathing normally without needing to focus on it. That's when he notices that what he can see is a bit odd. It looks kind of like himself. Cameron stares, still groggy and out of it, trying to make sense of what he's seeing. It's him, his reflection, but it's hard to understand why that's the case because it feels like he's lying down. At first, the coyote wonders if he may be on the floor. Maybe this is the floor mirror in their bathroom when he passed out. Still, the angling is wrong, and that's what leaves Cameron feeling more confused. The coyote closes his eyes again, trying to remember what happened last. He also begins to wonder why he's lying on something soft instead of the cold tile of the bathroom. Nothing makes sense. So he does the only thing he can think of in this moment. Dev? He hears something shift around him. Cameron tries to clear his throat, but it's bone dry as he swallows instead. Dev? Shit. Something is pressed to his lips, and sensing that it's water, Cameron drinks, getting several swallows before it pulled away. Cameron looks around, getting a full view of his surroundings. The voice hadn't sounded like Dev's, but Cameron can't imagine who else it could be, and a large furry brown shape moves into view. Cameron stares at first, wondering what could possibly have happened to Dev. But then he realizes how stupid that thought was. This is a different bear altogether. He also realizes that something is definitely wrong, that either he's still dreaming or he's in a situation he can't even begin to understand. He quickly sits up, and the old bear raises up a paw. Hey, it's alright, kid. I'm here to help you. The voice is higher pitched than he would have expected from such a large creature, and the coyote feels like he had heard it before, but he can't place it. Not now, at least.
I'm Brian. What about you?
Cameron. Cameron responds automatically, even though a smaller voice in his back of his head tells him this isn't right. None of this is right.
Well, hi there, Cameron. You're probably wondering why the hell you are, huh?
While the bear's demeanor is friendly enough, his appearance definitely isn't. Again, Cameron desperately tries to remember exactly what happened last and where he might be. He nods anyway, instinctively trying to keep up the facade that he's fine, and that he doesn't suspect anything is wrong.
Well, it's a funny story, but I heard some shouting outside, and when I went out there, I found you and your friends. You were unconscious, of course.
Dev was he a bear?
Cameron looks around hopefully as if Dev may still be there with them. It's only that until he realizes they're in a trailer and fragments of what happened recently start to come back to him. It leaves him feeling all the more uneasy.
Yeah, a bear like myself. And there was a cat, too.
Artie.
The memories of the past day and a half come back to the coyote slowly, and with it comes a feeling of anxiety and dread. Either he's in trouble, or he was in trouble, and somehow this bear is here trying to help him.
Well, I didn't get his name. He ran off just as I was getting there.
Where's Dev? The bear, I mean. Is he here?
Yeah, about that.
The bear shifts off behind the bed he's sitting on, making the springs squeak.
What happened is after the cat ran off and you were unconscious, your bear friend, Devin, right? He decided to make a run for the highway to get you help.
Cameron stays quiet as he tries to absorb that. The bear's sentences make sense, technically, but all the time it's confusing. Why would Devin leave him here alone with this bear? Now Cameron remembers that they were on a trip of some kind, a trip to Echo. The voice, the trailer. Cameron starts looking around again, trying to spot a shotgun, because he's now starting to realize who this might be.
I don't...
He comes up short at a complete loss. What he wants to say is that he wants to see Dev, but if what the bear would have said were true, there's not much he can do.
Does Devin know that I'm here?
Of course he does. Seems real worried about you. Said he would have the cat get help, but we're not even sure where he ran off to.
Why'd he run?
Well...
Ryan pauses, seeming to think back a bit, and also seemingly hesitant to say something. Cameron tenses up, the feeling of wrongness returning.
It's kind of hard to explain, but something spooked him.
Recalling the events of the past few days seems to gain momentum, and now he can vaguely remember what happened just before he ended up here. He was standing in the forest, ears down, hearing that awful static, but what exactly happened after that is still a bit foggy.
What was it?
Well, it might sound a bit crazy, but I've lived here a good while, and sometimes there's things in the trees that come after me.
Thing? What an odd thing to say. But then he remembers something strange before the lost consciousness, a dark shadow dropping on top of him before he disappeared into another world, locking him in that terrible embrace. A shadow. Although he says it softly, the bear clearly hears him. Cameron swallows hard, still feeling like the situation is very off, even when considering the circumstances. But Brian smiles in a way that's almost sympathetic.
Did it happen to sound like static? White noise?
Cameron looks at the bear before he nods.
Yep, I've seen it myself. Some of us can just see things like that, others can't.
Cameron swallows loudly.
You see things too?
Yeah, always could. Don't know why.
Though all the confusion and the terror, and of all the people, this bear seems to understand exactly what Cameron's going through. He feels a sudden sense of kinship with the bear. Then Cameron remembers his phone, quickly pulled it out and holding down the power button. The screen flickers on for just before multiple vertical black lines appear on the screen and widen steadily before the entire display goes black. Oh, he's out of juice. Cameron is confused, then remembers the fall in the lake, and he sees moisture still under the screen.
Shit.
Brian grunts.
Your phone busted? Shame. No service out here anyway.
How long ago did he leave?
About 2-3 hours ago.
He'd been unconscious that long? Still, the anxiety is telling Cameron to move.
I think I should go after him. Thanks for your help, though.
Cameron suddenly stands, but a wave of dizziness comes over him.
Oh, fuck.
The coyote catches himself against the wall, feeling weak and confused.
Whoa there, kid. I don't think you're in the best condition to go out there. You might pass out again, and the bear seemed real intent on me keeping you safe.
Cameron has to lean against the wall slightly, catching his breath. He didn't realize he's still messed up. It would make sense that he'd been out for so long. It's just odd that it seems to be getting worse. Whatever the creature did to him, it felt serious. As if reading his thoughts, the bear brings up the entity.
Besides, I don't know you should go out there with that shadow creature hanging around. Been seeing it through the window a few times. Don't want to scare you, but I think it wants you.
Cameron glances at the window nearest them. Instead of a shadow, he's surprised to see Raincoat Monster just beyond the trees, particularly hidden in a strange, crouching position. Stranger still are the odd shivering, twitching motions the creature is making. Though its face is mostly hidden, Cameron can tell he's being looked at. Even after all he's been through, the coyote finds himself lowering his gaze quickly. Once again, just like he was 8 years old, he's afraid of this hallucination. Or rather, he's afraid of this imitation of the hallucination, and considering that it's moving so violently, that's what it is.
You see it?
No, I mean, it's something else.
Oh, what is it? Sometimes I see real disturbing stuff in these woods. Most places in this town, actually.
It's something more personal. Cameron is caught between wanting to stay cautious of this man and also wanting to confide in him. After the trauma of the past 2 days, combined with a feeling After the trauma of the past 2 days, combined with feeling almost abandoned by his boyfriend, the coyote is desperate for some kind of connection.
What kind of things do you see?
Don't want to freak you out more than you already are.
I'm okay. I just wonder if maybe we see similar things.
Huh. Well, to be honest, I see people getting killed, usually. Sure, if it's real, like from the past, or if it ain't, sometimes it feels like something's being made up.
Yeah, Sorry. I'm still really tired.
Cameron slides down the wall to sit again. At least he feels somewhat comfortable with this bear now.
Makes sense after what you went through. You want my bed?
I'm good. I just need to catch my breath.
He's not quite that comfortable with him.
This is gonna sound weird too, but I see a ton of stuff in this town, and sometimes it feels made up. Like I saw a UFO, like an alien spaceship above a body today.
I see.
Just as he's beginning to feel comfortable, the coyote feels himself back on edge. Did he say something wrong?
I mean, I don't know if it was a UFO, but it looked...
You're fine, kid. It's just I haven't known anyone else that's seen something that I've seen too. It was along that dirt road, right? Circular shape with a bunch of red lights on it.
That little question is mine now. The bear is definitely like him.
Yeah, and like,
Shit. When did that space shuttle explode? Like the mid 80s, I think? This time Brian is lets out a little laugh of surprise and maybe a little disbelief as well. 86 to be exact. Damn, that's crazy. I've met a few people like you, but you're on a whole new level, kid. Cameron stares back, briefly wondering if he's still dreaming all of this. It's almost too jarring trying to understand how he ended up here with this bear. But if it is a dream, it's not the worst one. Can you help me find Devin? Maybe you can take me up to the road, to the highway, so we can catch up to him. The bear leans back, scratching his head. I don't know about that, kid. He took off at a good pace, and I'll bet he's probably already reached the highway by now. Probably in the process of alerting the authorities. Cameron twitches the hem of his shirt in his paws, feeling a sickening knot grow of worry in the pit of his stomach. He just wants to go, to run in to find Dev and escape town with him. But the threat of what's out there is very real, and Cameron doesn't want to repeat what happened out there in the forest. And apparently Dev already escaped without him. It makes sense to leave him behind, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Only now are the memories of what happened during his blackout returning, and only now does you remember how it felt like being in hell. Can that shadow creature get in here? Nah. Seems to avoid the trailer. Don't know why. You okay?
I don't know. His increasingly heavy breaths prompting Brian to crouch in front of him, patting his shoulder roughly.
Hey, you're fine. I'll make you something, okay? How's some nice tea sound? That always calms me down.
The pats jolt on the back of the pats jolt the coyote back to wakefulness as he nods. If only to get the bear to focus on something other than him.
Okay. Great, I'll get started on it. Just relax for now.
The wind whips violently in Devin's face. It's powerful enough that he can barely breathe. The ominous sounds of sirens were the only thing that guaranteed he'd be home as soon as they possibly could. He always took them as their warnings seriously, because what they warned of always terrified him. So now, in the haze of pain and horror, he wonders why he didn't heed the warnings. The mile-wide tornadoes that rip across the plains of his home state evoke a primal fear in him that few other things do. He'd felt that fear moments before the world became a flashing red flash of pain. Before he saw Artie crumple lifeless to the ground at the same time a pop echoed in through the air. Before he was made to drink from the plastic bottle of water that the other bear had brought him out of his trailer. And before his paws were tightly bound above his head. As Devin briefly comes to in the red glow of this metal container he's in, to the sound of metal chains and the feeling of the cramped heat, he knows he should be doing something. He should be helping someone he deeply cares about. Oh no, Brian put him in a crate. Damn it, Brian. Knew that bear's no good. Lupita, Artie, Cameron. His voice is rough, dry, on the verge of breaking. His chest feels like it's about to be crushed. Devin sits back into the darkness, even while his mind rolls in terror. Even as the F5 tornado continues to barrel right toward him. Cameron sits at the table as the bear busies himself near the stovetop with his back to the coyote. Again, the coyote contemplates leaving, either by asking Brian again or walking out the door. Another glance towards the window confirms Raincoat Monster is still out there, this time standing high in the trees, perched on a branch, still watching. Cameron looks away again. He feels deep down that if he leaves, another terrible thing is going to happen. While he believes the bear's story about what happened, something about this trailer is extremely uncomfortable, making him even more anxious. He thinks that must be something to do with his upbringing, the long, narrow space feeling familiar in the worst way. It's like suddenly falling ill, and being reminded of all the awful things one has when they're especially sick. Meanwhile, Brian is chattering on about how chamomile is particularly effective when it comes to anxiety, and Cameron vaguely wonders why he's moving around so much if he's just making tea. Mostly though, Cameron is trying to think clearly, get his thoughts to line up correctly through the fog that continues clouding his brain. It's making him feel extremely tired, and a couple of times the coyote is convinced that he is still dreaming. It's almost like he's high again, but without any positives of being high. His anxiety is already calming down, though despite the worry that whatever was in the forest might have done some kind of damage to his brain. He focuses his thoughts on Devin, trying to think clearly. Would the bear really leave him alone like this? He could have at least left him a message to let him know that this is what he wanted, that Cameron is safe in the situation. But Cameron also knows that it wouldn't have been all that practical. If Devin was really in a hurry, which he definitely would have been, he would have left him behind if he knew it was for the best and if he knew the situation was safe. There isn't really a way could have left a message anyway, except maybe a text, but with no phone and no service. If this Brian guy really wants to help him, though, he should have gone to the highway instead. He has to have a car, right? It's not like he can just survive out here in an old trailer. Cameron fixes his face with a pleasant smile, knowing that if it seemed to set the old bear at ease whenever he did. Do you have a car? Brian, seemingly absorbed in what he's doing, glances back.
Oh, well, I kind of share a truck with another guy in town. He happens to be out of town with a truck right now. Of course he would be, right?
Oh, okay. Brian smiles at him again.
I can see why Daniel likes you. You're a friendly kid.
Oh, you mean Devin?
Shit, yeah. The brain doesn't remember things like it used to.
You're fine. Cameron stares at the table, feeling that this exchange is very strange, but it's hard to think through all the cloudiness. Despite the dulled anxiety, the feeling is worrying him more and more. I'm actually feeling very weird, and I'm so tired.
Well, considering what happened to you, that makes sense. Not to pry, but do you do any drugs?
No, not anymore at least. I mean, I had some weed like hours ago, but that should have worn off by now.
People always say weed ain't a big deal, but it's probably what fucked me up the most back when I first tried it.
Cameron listens to the sound of liquid pouring into a cup. Yeah, I don't think I like it. But I still shouldn't be high, right?
You shouldn't, but after my first smoking, I felt high for like fucking years after. Even when I wasn't touching the stuff.
Cameron feels a prickle of worry underneath the haze.
Years? Yep. It's, what's it called? Depersonalization? Made me feel like my own paws weren't my own, and everything looked all weird and distorted, like a filter was in front of my eyes.
Cameron Vagan recalls his own friends describing the exact same thing, even when their trip was supposed to be over. He'd explain it to himself when he was under the influence of various disassociatives. Having the same experience while he's supposed to be sober is borderline terrifying, though.
Weed does that?
His worry and panic breaks through to the surface for a second, and he feels like, for that moment, he's surfaced from the muddy depths of his confusion before slipping back under. He can't live in a dream for the rest of his life.
But what even is life sitting here in a trailer with an old, slightly smelly bear? Well, it went away once I stopped thinking about it. How did he even get here again? Where's Dev? Oh, shit. Cameron suddenly grips the table and paws shaking as he feels he's lifting out of his body somehow and that he has to hold on to something to remain in place. Hey, you alright, kid? Here, Brian ambles over to the fridge, opens the freezer, and pulls out an ice tray and drops a few cubes into the mug, the ice clinking loudly. He stirs for a minute and then turns back to the trembling coyote. Hope you don't mind the ice, but it should be cool enough to drink now. Still confused and terrified, and just wanting something to do, to focus on, Cameron reaches out for the mug the bear is holding out to him. He takes it in a trembling paw, gulping it down. It's filled with honey and a strong taste of ginger. It's unlike any chamomile tea he's had before. The amount of honey is surprising, and he briefly wonders if it's a bear thing, even though Devin never seemed to have much of an affinity for it. Still, Cameron doesn't get the full flavor of the concoction until he's finished it, and as he exhales, an odd nutty taste mixed with what Cameron can only describe as dirt lingers on the back of his tongue. Cameron frowns at the bizarre, terrible tea. He can't help pulling a face as he looks to the mug, a thick, round glob of honey remaining at the base, while dark particles slowly collect around it. It's distracting enough that his panic attack is terminated before it really begins. Brian laughs. Sorry about that. I like it. I like to add it in kava root to soothe anxiety too. Should have warned you. Cameron had thought the taste was somehow familiar, but he supposes that any kind of root would have an earthly bitter taste. Oh, it's okay. Just wasn't expecting it. I read about kava a few times when I was looking up for ways to help with anxiety. Never tried it though. Well, get ready for it to change your life. Got me off my chill pill meds. I do have some leftover bars if you need something stronger though. Xanax? I'll wait and see. While that would be nice, Cameron already feels deep asleep, so it doesn't seem like the best idea. While he mostly believes this bear's story, he doesn't want to be completely unaware of what's happening right now. I'm guessing you're having some experience with it before, huh? He doesn't really want to discuss his past with a stranger, even if it seems the guy would fully understand. Brian puts his paws up, like he's showing that he's unarmed. Hey, I don't judge, kid. I was into that lifestyle for most of my life before I started turning things around. While Cameron is still cautious, he doesn't want to make it seem like he's suspicious. It doesn't feel like the best idea to sour things between him and the other person with him in the middle of the desert. Yeah, I did a bit of everything in middle school and high school. Only thing I got hooked on was opioids, though. Ugh, you and half the country, kid. That's a rough one. The tiredness is starting to plateau, if not recede slightly, and Cameron feels an odd but welcome sense of empathy towards this bear. Must be the kava kicking in. Brian's face appears to be a bit defined and clear, and there's a warmness in his eyes. It was my first drug too. I experimented with everything else. I was deciding to find something less addictive and harmful. Brian shakes his head. That's the problem with it. There ain't much out there that makes you feel that good. That's what I'm told anyway. I took one of my dad's hydros and ended up puking my guts out for hours. Guess I'm lucky that I can't keep them down. Cameron thinks about that. Well, how nice it would have been if he had been violently ill whenever he tried opioids or any drug for that matter. I have psych reactions to it. I only had, what's it called? Percocet? In 2012. And it ended up with me getting tased by the cops because I went manic. It happens when it's like, yeah, we're going to remove your wisdom teeth and then give you Percocet. And it's like, I barely take Tylenol.
like for any, like I barely take any kind of over-the-counter drugs, and it's like going from 1 to 100, and I guess that didn't react well with the brain, so I had a rare side effect that causes psych reactions. So that's on my medical thing now. It's like, nope, 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 nope. One of my few medical things.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I'd say that's some good luck. I quit in college and haven't done it since, so good for you.
Brian gazes down his nose at Cameron, starting to frown. Cameron's ears twinge in a sense of a change in mood.
Now, I don't mean to bring this up again, but do your visions get more intense when you did heroin?
At first, Cameron wants to correct the bear and say he's never done heroin, but then stops as he thinks back. Of course, his visions got worse whenever he had certain drugs, including opioids, but he had assumed back then that they were just agitating his already present delusions. It was only today that he had made the connection between drug using and hallucinogens or visions.
Yeah, actually, a few times on other stuff too. Does that happen to you?
Definitely. Again, the feelings of empathy grow in the coyote's chest. There are others just like him.
Maybe I'm not going crazy then. I keep going back and forth on that.
Well, not normal crazy anyway, right? Say. Brian looks carefully at Cameron again, and the coyote is almost distracted by the glow that seems to be emanating from the bear's eyes. Oddly enough, the intense, vivid, and the defined furs seem to be rippling as if blowing in the wind, even though they're inside. Is that kava? You ever try something more trippy, like acid or shrooms? Cameron shifts uncomfortably at that last word.
Yeah, both. Acid was fine, but nothing weird happened. Shrooms just kind of fucked me up and I saw all kinds of things.
Huh, that's too bad. That one can be a real eye-opener.
Oh?
Cameron wasn't sure what to say, feeling a bit uncomfortable again.
But yeah, most drugs make you see more things. Only ones that don't are stims. That's why so many people here got into meth.
Only problem is that meth makes you see shit. Meth still makes you see shit, but only because it makes you go crazy. Arches and half circles.
Yeah.
Cameron looked down at the table. He wonders about his mother again, and if maybe she was like him. Maybe she took the stimulants because she was trying to stop the visions, but ended up starting a wave of hallucinations and delusions instead. Cameron watches the wood grain on the table shift and move slightly like ocean waves. And then it hits him. It hits him hard. Oh no, he drugged him! No! The aftertaste of the tea. Why it was familiar. Why things are moving in inexplicable ways. Why everything is feeling more fucked up by the second. He's been here before. A moment seems to blank out of existence from Cameron's memory because the next thing he knows, he's already standing up, the chair sliding back behind him. He stares at Brian with wide eyes, mouth open. He can't seem to say anything. He can't think of what to say if the bear did what he thinks he did. Brian stares back, watching Cameron carefully in a way that tells the coyote that the bear isn't surprised at all by this reaction, and it makes Cameron even more afraid. The cozy, dreamy lighting of the trailer becomes more ominous, red, and dangerous, and the bear in front of him seems to warp. Into a demon.
No, what did you give me?
Cameron looks wildly at the coffee mug. You need to calm down. Understand?
What did you give me?
I think you already know the answer to that. So why don't you sit down and get it together?
bear's face is so warped, but Cameron honestly can't tell if it's real or not. Was it psilocybin? Did you drug me with shrooms? Ryan says nothing, but he's right that Cameron knows. He could never forget this feeling. Oh my god, why? It ruined my life. Cameron is heaving for breath, the sound of his gasping almost drowning the bear out. Sit down and I'll explain. Cameron has no intention of sitting down. The sensations and visuals are just as bad as the last time, if not worse, and he's only at the beginning. The fear and panic reach a dizzying level, and Cameron is running around the table for the door. And then he's on his back, his chest and spine and his back hit, and the back of his head aching. Ryan is atop of him, and Cameron is on his back. He can see the coffee mug shattered on the ground a couple of feet away. Calm down. Remember what I said about depersonalization. The only thing you can do is not think about it, otherwise I'm gonna knock you out. Cameron struggles, wheezing for breath. Let me go! I can't breathe! Ryan responds by squeezing his arms tighter, leaning more weight into Cameron's torso. Stop! I'm sorry! He doesn't know what he's apologizing for, but just hoping that maybe he'll get the bear to stop. Heh. I thought you were cute when you were smiling. That statement, for whatever reason, is the scariest part about what's happening right now. He starts to scream for the only person he can think of right now. Devin! Help me, Devin! Devin! Shut the fuck up. Brian sounds legitimately disgusted as he pulls himself off of Cameron. The coyote prepares to scream again, but sees Brian's foot lash out and kick him on the side, setting him up against the base of the counter. Then leaning over him with both of his giant paws on the edge of the counter, he starts kicking Cameron over and over. Cameron yelps and wheezes. The blow is hard enough that he's worried the bear is definitely going to break something if he hasn't already. He thrashes and rolls, trying to escape. Then, one kick catches him particularly hard at the base of his sternum, and he violently curls up, a loud frog-like croaking noise escaping his throat. Brian pauses as the sounds continue emanating from Cameron's mouth. Cameron can hear the bear breathing heavily over him as Brian watches his agonizing breathing, almost like he's fascinated by it. After nearly a minute, the terrible noises turn back to gasps, which then turn into sobs as Cameron starts curling to his side, one arm around his midsection while the other is pressing over his eyes. Brian doesn't move, just watching as Cameron cries on the floor. At first, Cameron thinks it might be better to keep his eyes closed and try to disappear into the darkness. Maybe wake up again, but in a new place this time. Anywhere seems better than here. But that's when odd, slightly curving, glowing red lines begin expanding and shrinking behind his eyelids, and Cameron whines as the terrible reminder of what's going to happen. He's going to trip, and it's going to be terrible. Cameron pulls his paw away from his eyes and finds out what he sees isn't much better. The huge bear is crouching in front of him, his fur now a wreathing, pulsing mass of a thing that almost seems like another living creature covering the bear. Listen. What you do next is going to determine what happens to you. This is a dream. It has to be a dream. Everything that happened, not just in the trailer, but this whole town. It has to be a dream, a hallucination, a trick. This can't be happening. I need you to talk to some folks I used to know. If you're really one of them psychics, if you can fix my problems, I'll let you go like nothing happened. Cameron? Devin calms out again, bursts out a name without thinking. He's not sure how long he's been out of it, since the last time he woke up. It feels like hours, possibly even days since he was last conscious. He'd been dreaming. Something about insects crawling and biting his arms, and tornadoes. A twisting force. He realizes that his arms are what brought him back to the waking world. They'd fallen asleep, and now they're tingling so bad it feels like they're covered in crawling, wreathing ants made of molten lead. The bear grunts in discomfort and tries to bring them down from above his head, but he wasn't able to. They come up short and he hears a rattling sound close to his ears, which twitches at the loudness. Chains? Devin freezes, keeping his eyes closed, unsure if whoever did this to him is close by. Although, it's really hard to think through all the haziness. The memories come back to him rather quickly. First, he remembers waking deep in the woods before the strange bear went into his trailer to get something. He came out with a bottle of water, claiming it was for Cameron. Then, after walking further into the dense forest, they came upon a white van. The exact kind of van that would make most people suspicious. Devin did become more suspicious, but by that time it was already too late. The old bear had pulled a gun on them, one that wasn't his shotgun, and told them both to get in the van. Artie started to run, and the other bear didn't hesitate to shoot him, aiming for his head. Devin isn't sure, but he could swear that he saw a spray of something, whether it be fleur, blood, or worse, ran out from the back of Artie's head before he dropped. Devin's fingers and toes clench inwards as he thinks about that moment. The sound, the suddenness of it. But mostly, he remembers the way Artie fell. It was instant, like strings that had been held him up had been cut, crumpling so quickly that Devin is sure that he had been killed. At that point, Devin did everything the old bear told him to, including lying Cameron on the rough desert floor. Devin tries to keep him from whining as he wonders if that might be the last time he saw Cameron, and then laid down in the van and letting him bind his arms up. He thought about fighting back in that moment, but it was so quick. Before he knew it, he was secured and was made to drink from the bottle. Now he's in the very center of the tornado, a twisting force. Devin clenches his eyes shut even tighter, feeling moisture gather at the corners. Around the point in equal forces times distance. But he opens them a moment later, realizing his captor would have seen all the movements he had made. Perpendicular to force. He's alone in the van. His eyes stinging, and the bear realizes that he's sweating heavily. The metallic box he's stuck in is hot and almost overwhelmingly stifling. He worries for a moment that he slept through the night and now it's sunrise and he's about to cook to death in this van. But after gauging the light, he decides it's still around sunset, just a few hours after what had happened. After Artie had been killed. Shit. Devin squeezes his eyes shut again, feeling tears leak out and onto the moist fur of his cheeks. He allows himself this moment, but quickly focuses again, knowing that Cameron is still out there with that bear. Spoiler from the first game. I haven't played the first game, though. Oh no, ghost trains. That's enough to get a rise from Devin, one that builds into a wave on his chest. A combination of adrenaline and terror, but mostly fury. While the brutality of the backwood bear evokes fear in Devin, it also makes him angry that anyone, would feel they have the right to do what the old bear did. He opens his eyes and takes a look at his surroundings. He's lying flat on his back, arms stretched above his head. He can feel that it isn't a pair of handcuffs that's holding him in place, There's enough give that, slowly, he's able to turn onto his stomach. The action is incredibly painful, and Devin can't help but grunt loudly, his arms feeling like they might fall off as they spasm. Slowly, painfully, he turns himself into a kneeling position, getting a better look at his predicament. He then realizes that these handcuffs are more like shackles, meant to hold the bear-sized creature in place like himself in place. They're bolted into the floor of the van. Devin glances up suddenly, his ears catching what sounds like a faint cry outside the van. "Cameron!" Devin's voice comes out hoarse and cracked once more. Was that Cameron? It sounded like him. Devin is still groggy from whatever was in that bottle, but he's sure he heard a distinct sound of his boyfriend's voice. The fact that it's so sudden and absent convinces Devin that it was definitely Cameron. He strains to listen for several more seconds, but can't hear anything. He looks down the heavy chain-linked metal cuffs around his wrists. Unbreakable. Still, he finds himself foolishly yanking at the shackles, hoping that there could be some kind of give in the slightly rusted chains and bolts. Shit. Tears fill Devin's eyes. The feel of falling forever is returning. He'd felt like that a few times before. The first time being when he was running home after he'd found Lupita's body. The second time being when he saw Arto getting shot. And now, knowing that his boyfriend could be at the mercy of this bear, whose intentions Devin couldn't even begin to guess. He just knows that they're horrific. But seeing the faces of those people, it changes something in Devin. A cool, icy calm descends on him, and he looks at the chains carefully. His classes in physics had taught him all about the way in which force is exerted and can seemingly accomplish things that seem impossible. Ah, okay. So even while his heart hammers in his ears, and even while his brain is clouded in the dense fog of sedation, Devin analyzes the chain and bolts holding it in place. Torque. Cameron stays curled up on the floor for what feels like a long time. He had ultimately decided that he'd rather watch the harmless, pulsating arches dance behind his eyelids rather than the nightmare the trailer is becoming. Every minute or so, the reality of the situation hits the coyote, and the burst of whispering gasps escape his muzzle over a few minutes before fading back to only whimpering. He would stay down there until his trip was over, but Brian ended up pulling him back to where he was sitting. At that point, the coyote doesn't fight the bear, going limp while his body is pulled along. For a minute, Brian tries to get him to sit in the chair, but eventually just gives up, dropping Cameron next to the table where he just lies on the floor. The coyote listens to the old bear moving about the trailer, though it's barely audible over his own gasping sobs. Eventually, those lumbering, shuffling footsteps come closer, and Cameron knows what the old bear is crouching next to him, though the coyote still doesn't open his eyes. Listen, kid. Since you ain't gonna calm down, you're taking some Xans, got it? Cameron listens, but doesn't move, afraid to do anything. Then he flinches as a rough, callous paw grabs his chin and forces his mouth open slightly. Finally, Cameron opens his eyes a bit and almost gasps at the vivid red lighting which keeps him distracted until something falls into his mouth. A pill, and Cameron recognizes its distinct bar shape and bitter taste. Brian holds out a cup, a plastic one that Cameron looks at with disgust and undisguised fear. It's just water. The old bear gestures at the counter where the gallon jug sits.
When Cameron still doesn't move, Brian sighs. Then he gets up and grabs the cup straight from the sink and pours a handful before drinking it. Cameron's mouth is as dry as a desert surrounding him, likely due to a combination of drugs and fear, and he really doesn't want to swallow the pill to get rid of the taste. So he takes the cup and drinks, swallowing the Xanax, and despite his fear, he drinks until the cup is empty. He vaguely remembers his high school friends telling him to drink water to make the trip less intense. Cameron has the feeling that it probably won't change anything. Brian takes the cup from the coyote's limp paw, and it takes Cameron a second to realize that the bear is still holding another pill that looks like a small red square.
Now put this one under your tongue.
Cameron stares, trying to figure out if it's just the trip making it look like that color, or... Brian sighs again, becoming more impatient.
I broke a third off the bar I gave you.
Now Cameron is sure the pill is actually red, and he draws back. A counterfeit pill, and that probably means it's cut with something. Something like opioids.
I don't...
Ooh. Brian slaps him, the strike coming as fast as the coyote isn't even sure what happened. The sudden numbing sting on the left side of his face, along with the bright flash of light, is very familiar, though, and Cameron feels as though he'd traveled 7 years back in time. His delayed reaction is a surprised gap as he raises his arms over his face. The bear yanks his arms back down and thrusts the pill at his muzzle. This time the coyote opens his mouth unwilling and maneuvering the pill to slip under his tongue. His movements feel almost robotic at this point. To Cameron's intense relief, this seems to satisfy the bear, and Brian gets up before his crouching position backing away. The coyote sits there for a moment, then slowly drags himself under the table, hurtling in a corner as tears welled up in his eyes again. After going through all that, and knowing that there's plenty more to go through, Cameron longs for Devin more than ever has before. He waits until the pill dissolves before asking the question that he dreads hearing the answer to.
Is Devin, the bear, is he still alive?
If this giant, violent bear has encountered Devin and Artie, there's no telling what he might have done to them. His heart drops as the bear seems to hesitate.
Please, tell me the truth.
Cameron needs to know.
The bear is fine. He's locked up, but fine.
His tone sounds genuine, even though Cameron will never trust him. He has to hold out some hope.
And if I do this for you, you'll let him go too?
That's the plan. He your boyfriend? Don't answer that. Do not answer that question. No. Cameron isn't sure how to best respond to that, so he doesn't. Brian shrugs. Doesn't matter much to me. Just do what I tell you and you'll both get out of here by tomorrow. So at this point, like, inferring from that, Cameron should be like, oh, Artie's dead. Like, you both can get out of here tomorrow. What happened to Artie? What happened to Artie? That should be your question there, if you cared about the cat. The poor cat. It's quiet for a moment, and Brian moves to the other end of the trailer, opening the fridge along with, and doing whatever it is he does. Cameron doesn't bother keeping track.
Let me know when you start seeing shit.
Got something to do real quick. Cameron blurts out another question weighing heavily on his mind.
And Arturo? The cat? Is he?
Brian doesn't look back and just sighs again. Cameron doesn't ask any follow-up questions, feeling like he got his answer. The thought that Artie might be gone is too messed up for his drug-up mind, especially because he feels certain that he can't be gone. Cameron can't explain why, but he just feels it. Artie's the third wheel. Come on now. Poor Artie. Get hobo. Oh, man. He feels Dev and he feels Artie. Brian stands next to the door holding a plastic water bottle.
Gotta go out for 5 minutes. I'll be right next to the trailer. So if I see you trying anything, I'll shoot your boyfriend in front of you, and then I'll kill you. Eventually.
Cameron doesn't move. But soon the trimp intensifies as he hugs himself, the movement making his ribs ache from the earlier kicks. He just watches as the vivid colors and shapes of his hallucinations. Meanwhile, the acrid taste of Xanax lingers on his tongue. And that, I think, is going to be it for today. Things getting intense. Things are getting intense. Will our coyote hero escape the evil Riley bear, or are him and Dev also going to meet a tragic end? We'll find out next time as we play more of this game. When they said it was mature, and when they said it has some bad JoJo, they weren't kidding. Yeah, poor Artie. He didn't deserve it, man. He just wanted to take a pee in the woods, and this is what he gets. Anyways, we'll see you guys for more arches next time. We'll have to start off with the with the discretion is advised warning, because it won't be. I don't think we're gonna start this one off with just colorful little 4-letter words, as it were. But anyways, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next time on November 2nd for more of this. Have a good one.